Now that we have a sample button in Flash, let's go on and create the 3 buttons using the method that I have on the DME website. Now we're going to create the first button with a shape inside, the second button with a movie clip inside, and the third button with an animated movie clip inside. And so here we begin. Let's begin by creating a simple look for our button. We can of course adjust things like maybe giving rounded edges or something like that when we create our initial background. I'm going to go ahead and give it a different background color than that, just because I think it'd be more exciting. I'll make it look different than the example button I have already there. So one of the things we might want to be concerned with is whether or not we do have a stroke and how thick that stroke is as well for when we set up our initial style of our button. So here's my initial background for my button. So I'm going to select it, go to the library, drag that shape in there, and let's make this a button. And this is going to be a shape button. Now double click on it to go inside the timeline of that button. We'll duplicate the up state to the over state by clicking on it and dragging it over with the Alt key, or by right clicking and choosing create insert keyframe that do the same thing. Now we'll adjust the color slightly, and you can adjust it by making it darker or lighter, or maybe even using a different color. Then we're going to add text to be above it. So I need to create a new layer, click on the type tool, and then start my text here. I'll call it shape button. And I'm going to make sure that that color is going to be white. That way I go to my properties, and actually I can even select it and just take my slider all the way up. And now to center that, I'm going to make it snap to the left-hand edge, drag my text item to the right-hand edge, and make sure that my settings are centered for the paragraph. And now I can adjust it up or down just a little bit with the nudge. So now I have created a shape button. I can go back to scene 1, and if you like, you can test your movie just to make sure that it works. So there's the very first type of button. Let's go ahead and save our work after each button. The next type of button I want to create is a movie clip based button. So I'm going to click and drag again to create another new shape. And this is again with the shape tool. And I'm going to right click again or drag it into the library and choose convert to symbol. And this is going to be my MC button. And we'll make sure that the symbol type is a button. Now we can double click inside that or on that button to go inside the button, and you'll find that we have inside the button the original shape. Well, what we need inside this button is actually a movie clip so that we can apply things like filters and effects to it. So I'm going to right click on it, choose convert to symbol, and this is going to be the MC button background, and I need to make sure that I change the type to a movie clip. If you have a button inside of a button, it will actually cause a lot of problems. So make sure that you convert the symbol inside the button to a movie clip. Now with this movie clip, I can do things such as add filters. Now I'm going to save my work just before I add this filter, because I have noticed sometimes with adding filters it will cause Flash to crash. So I'm going to add a little bevel, maybe just a regular bevel, and I might knock down the strength just a tiny bit. I don't want it to be super strong. So I have a bevel on that button now. Now I can duplicate that keyframe or right click and choose insert keyframe, and now I'm going to change that bevel just slightly. So I'm going to actually move the angle so it is different. There we go. So now you'll see that there's a change in that bevel that makes it look like that button is being depressed. I can also possibly change things like the color effect, maybe change the brightness just a little bit down so it looks like it's actually going down a little bit. Now I can create my text on top of it just like before, and I'll create white text on top of it that says this is my movie clip button. And I may need to adjust the size of that text a little bit because it's a little bit long. So I'm going to make it white. I can do that with the slider. And I'm going to adjust the size down just a little bit just to make sure that it fits within my button. So there's my movie clip button, and be aware that you really don't want your text to go outside of your button physically, because obviously your text can't go outside of your button physically. So I generally make sure it's really inside of it. Now we need to go back to the scene one, so we'll click on that or double click outside of the movie clip button, and let's save our work and test with Control Enter, and you'll see we have our original sample, our new shape button, and our movie clip button. The next type of button that we're going to create is an animated movie clip button. So let's begin with a rectangle tool, or if you want, we can even use the rectangle primitive because it's a nice option. One of the things that's really nice about the rectangle primitive is the ability to alter the each of the corners, and you can even unlock these so that maybe some of them could be set to 0. And that gives you kind of a different look. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a slightly different color so it's obvious that this is a different item. Maybe I'll make it white or lighter this time. That way I can use black text on it instead of white text. And I can even change my outside color. Lots of things that you can do. Ooh, that's not the best one. So there's my new button. And I'm going to right click, choose Convert to Symbol, or drag it into the library. And the very first thing we want to do is turn this into a button. So this is going to be the animated button. Now we want to double click to go inside the button, and you'll find inside the button right now is the original rectangle primitive. We want to convert this by right clicking, choosing Convert to Symbol, and we're going to change this into a movie clip. So this is going to be the anim button background. Now, in order to create the next state, we need to duplicate our existing keyframe, but we'd like to animate with this object here. Now, we need to nest this inside of another movie clip, and the reason why is if we double-click now and try and create an animation, that animation will exist both on the first keyframe and the regular state as well as the hover state, and we only want it to be on the over state. So let's go back to the button timeline, and on the overstate, select the movie clip that's already there, the animation button background, and I'm going to right click again, convert this to a symbol, and save this as a movie clip, and this will be my button anim. And I typically put those things which are actual animations in uppercase. That's just my naming thing. Now we can double click to go inside the timeline of this animation, and I'm going to select the keyframe that's there, start to drag it over and hold down the Alt key so I duplicate it, and now I'm going to go back and duplicate another time so I have one keyframe in the middle that's different. Now this is going to create an animation cycle, so it starts off looking one way, animates to something, and goes back to the original look. In order to change this, I need to go to my properties, click on it, and change something about it. So maybe I will change the brightness or the tint slightly. I can even, of course, go to the advanced panel and change other things about it. So maybe it'll go a little lighter. That does look a little bit different. Maybe I want there's so many different choices that you can make here about the colors. So there, that's obviously different, but it's still light. So I'm now going to create a classic tween at each place, and you'll see that we have that change. And now I'm going to go back to the regular state, create a new layer for my text above it, and this will be my button, or animated button. I'm going to change this to black so it's on top, and I can definitely tell it's on top there. Stretch it across, and I can go back to the main scene and now test that, and I should have all 3 movies done. There's my animated movie clip button. You can see it animates when I hover over it, my regular movie clip button, my shape button, and the original sample button. And you are done, and go ahead and save your file.